I'm on day 7 now with the Viking bed project. Finished all the basic cuts for the top parts of the post yesterday. It could have gone a little bit quicker, of course, but it's that time of the year now when we have a lot of harvesting and preservation to do, so I've had to do a little bit of that, also baking bread. But it doesn't matter since there's no fixed deadline on the project anymore. I'll just keep working in a nice and comfortable pace, and there will be a nice Viking bed in the end. So what I'm going to do today is keep shaping the top of the posts so they look a little bit more pleasing and a little bit more like the original beds found in the Gokstad grave. Now, the original bed, if I recall correctly, has these tapered parts pretty square. I will take off the corner on the top and just smooth them off with the chisel, but before that this middle part has to be addressed a little bit. I don't necessarily feel I have to do it exactly as the original bed, since the dimensions are altered anyway. Also, the construction inside of the bed is more of a modern type, so it will not be a recreation anyway. Okay, now rinse and repeat on the other 3. Now I have taken off the corners of this part on all 4 posts, so they have an octagonal shape. Next step is to round them off, and I think the best way to do that is to use some sort of plane. I'm going to use a block plane. I could probably do it with a small smoothing plane, or maybe even a spokeshave or something, but I will try with a block plane because that seems fitting to me for this purpose. Yeah, that method was totally appropriate, but there are a lot of different things you could try out to round the piece over like this. Spokeshave would probably work really good here. And little bit more chisel work to take off the next corner before you start planing. Would also be totally fine if you would prefer that. Actually, I think I will try a combination of spokeshave and block plane. I will take off the bulk of the material with a spokeshave. And then finish it off with the block plane. It's not strictly necessary, but the block plane is set to finer cut. The spokeshave takes coarser shavings. So that might be the best method for this, the quickest, because then I don't have to change the setting of the spokeshave. Nice and quick, and also I get to use 2 pleasant hand tools instead of 1. So I will do that on all 4 posts now, and then it's time for the next step. Time to smooth over the tapered pieces. And I think the best way to do that is to use the drawknife. Same thing again. Repeat the process on all the other posts. Now I'll just keep working like this until I come all the way around. And then I'll do the same to the rest of the posts as well. The middle part is nicely rounded off now. Now I want to put the chamfer on the top edge. So I will do like before, use my fingers as a gauge for the pencil and estimate how much I need to take. Something like that. And I will also mark on the top. This will probably be easiest to plane off with a bench plane of some sort. I think I will use my number 4 smoother. I could do it with the block plane also, probably, but I want to try the bigger smoother and see how that feels. Now the trick when planing an edge like this is not to run the plane all the way to the end and over, because then there will be tear out on that side. Same thing if I pull like this. If I'm not careful here, I will have tear out on the corner. So I will go from both sides and change the direction frequently. And now I just repeat that on all 4 sides, and then I do it on the rest of the posts as well. By skewing the plane, its blade cuts diagonally across the wood, gives a nicer cut, better surface and reduced risk of tear out. same idea here. I plane from the edge and in, but not all the way. So I go out over the opposite edge. I stop and I go from the other side. And I also try to skew this plane for a smoother cut. Okay, that's the first one done. And now I want to take off these sharp edges a little bit. But before that, I want to put a decorative groove here. I am decided on a distance from the top of the post decoration where to put the groove, and I will use that for all 4 posts so they look alike. I use the combination square again, transfer it all around the post. I could make a mark with a knife here to help guide the chisel, just a little scratch. I don't want to cut down too deep because I always chop at an angle with the chisel, but now I have a little discrete line so I can feel where to put the edge of the chisel. And if I keep it totally plumb, it will cut a bit to the side, and I know I will have the same angle on all the cuts if I just use this totally straight up orientation. Just need a vise to grip the workpiece properly. I won't chop down that much from just one side. I will chop from the other side as well. I'll do the same thing here. I'm putting a scratch as a guide for the chisel. And here I'm trying to find another angle with the chisel. It's about 30 degrees or something. You could probably do this with a hand saw or a tenon saw. I just prefer using a chisel. And there we go. Just a matter of doing this on all 4 sides and on all 4 posts, just like before. I'm working pretty late tonight. And I guess there's not much in the footage to tell you about that, but maybe you can hear the little owl screaming outside. They always come out at night. There's the owl again, if you can hear it. I believe that's the female. Males have a totally different sound. Couldn't even guess it's the same owl, if you didn't know. The groove is done. Now I can take off the sharp edges of the top and bottom tapered pieces. I'll just use the chisel like this. No big deal. There we go. I think I'm happy with this design. I'm gonna finish that on all 4 posts, and then it's about time to put the bed together again. See if the wedges need any adjustment. But this is as far as I go tonight. It's way past my bedtime. Now but it's time to make some dinner, get some sleep, and continue tomorrow. Yeah, I can't wait. It's day 8 on the project. I just take some time standing here enjoying the sun and listening to a passing raven. You could have it worse. It's time to finish the tenons. They are going to get pegged and trimmed off. I'll show you what I mean. Obviously I don't want the tenons to be this long. They will be cut off at maybe 60 millimeters. That's about 2.5 inches. And what can easily happen when you drive in the wedge on furniture like this, especially a bed where you need to hammer them in pretty thoroughly, is that you split out the wood outside of the wedge. And to avoid that, I drill a hole right through it like that, and I glue a dowel in the hole like so. 10mm dowel, good dimension for this tenon, that's 32 millimeters wide. So dowel goes in, gets cut off, and then I cut the tenon off and trim it and shape it. So that's what I'll do. I will put the dowel 40 millimeters out from the post and cut the tenon at 65 mil, not 60. That takes me to about more or less exactly 2.5 inches actually. Combination square again to transfer the line for the cut. This could also be done on the bench, but since I am here and I mark where the hole is supposed to be drilled. The gable planks are pretty straightforward since they only have a single tenon. Just a matter of drilling through, pegging, cutting and finishing. The side planks I will have to do the first one and then flip it around and do the second one from the bottom. Holding a block of wood underneath will probably reduce tear out. Yes. I will pre-cut the dowel with a little bit of margin in the length. Not by much, but somewhere around 10 to 15 millimeters, half an inch. And chamfering the end so it's easier to hammer it in. through. It's a bit hazardous with the long dowel holes like this, because it can get stuck because of the friction before you are all the way through. Det var här. Gå ut. Så, ut. Ut med dig. Hörru. Ut, sa jag. Så, ut. Ut kan man dra. Så, stick. Why do I round the tenons like this? Won't it look cooler with a more square shaped tenon? Perhaps. I guess it's a matter of taste, but this is primarily because I have some experience using beds like this, and you constantly walk into these protruding tenons with your shins, and the rounded tenon is nicer to your legs than a square one. So that's why. But you can do as you want, of course. This is what I chose to do now. I decided to switch to chisel for the rounding job. Well, there are different ways to achieve the same results. So spokeshave, block plane, chisel, whatever you like, but I decided I preferred the chisel in the end, even though I started with the spokeshave. I usually like to try different methods and not stick to just one by principle. Anyway, that's the last tenon done. I will reassemble the bed again and see how it looks. It looks fairly pleasing, I must say. Now the next step is to make the carrier strips that will be fitted on the inside of the side planks. That will take the ribbons that will carry the mattress. There will also be a beam here in the middle, because the ribbons are 70 centimeters wide and the bed is 140, so they need support in the middle. I would have done that anyway, even if the ribbons ran all the way from side to side, because it's a bit too wide to just rely on that. Need some sort of central support. So I'm gonna do that, but first I'll go and have some lunch. That was lunch. Now it's time for the carrier strips on the inside of the bed frame. I measured the height from the floor and up to where they will sit, so I can just mount them as the bed is assembled. So I'm sure that they come in the right place. I'll just try to measure how long they need to be. I had a measuring tape for internal measurements, but I can't seem to find it, so I'll just improvise a little bit. 195 centimeters, it seems. That gives me a couple of millimeters off, I think, so it's not too tight to fit. So almost 77 inches, 76 3/4, more or less exactly. So here are the pieces I need. I prepared them earlier when I did my planing. One of these I will cut to 195 and split into two. The other one will be slightly longer, because that will sit as the middle beam, and it will be held between the gable planks with half tenons. So it will be a little bit longer than 2 meters, as is the inside length of the frame. But I'll start by cutting the one that I will split and mount on the side planks. That gives me something to rest the strip on. And then I can do the same on the other side. Glue it, clamp it and screw it in place. Well, of course, on this side there's not room for a 60mm strip. I'll have to cut it down to 45. To cut it at 45 degrees was an idea I got just now when I did it. I didn't check if it would fit. Doesn't matter that much, I'll just mark 45 and rip it off on the table saw. Should just be the same procedure again, but I'll measure 45mm down from the mark and not 60. I'll use a little less glue this time since so much of it seeped out before. I'm driving the screws pretty deep into the carrier strip because they are a bit shorter than it should be. They're 40mm. The strip is 33, 35 and the board is 32, so I can drive it thoroughly into the strip. Doesn't matter if they are short, it's the glue that will hold the strip primarily anyway. Alright, now I can remove the clamps again. now it's time for the central support beam. Everything I do now on the inside of the frame is what you would refer to as cheating. That's just modern methods of supporting a modern mattress in something that's supposed to look like a bed from the 10th century. So maybe sometime I will make a completely historical representation of that bed with only hand tools and period techniques, but this isn't one of those projects. This is something that's supposed to work in a historical camp environment. I decided to swap this beam that I was planning on using as the central support for this one that I had in my wood pile. And that's because the slats that will support the mattress, represented by these cut-offs, they will meet on top of that beam. And I'm not sure if this 35mm wide beam is giving them enough support. But if I swap it to a 45, that's 2 inches, I believe, I get a lot more support. I don't expect the bed to move as much as needed for the slats to come off the edge of the beam, but this gives me a little bit more of a margin and also quite a lot more strength in the middle support beam. So I will use this instead. I just have to make it a little straighter first. It's not that great right now, but that's an easy fix. So I'll use this, save this for something else. Here's the new beam. Had to plane it down a little bit to get it straight, but it's still 43mm thick instead of 35 as the old one. It will be supported by half mortises. That's a mortise that doesn't run all the way through the plank, but halfway through typically. I will probably chop it down to 2/3 of the plank's thickness. So now I have to measure the exact distance between the gable boards and mark out for the tenons on the beam and cut them. It should be exactly 2 meters. Sort of is 2 meters and maybe 2 millimeters. I will add 3 millimeters just to give it a little bit of a squeeze between the gables to avoid any potential rattling. And then a 20mm tenon in each end. I'll set this gauge to 20mm. Run a line all around. I'll make the tenon 60mm tall. So the bottom part of it will be cut away. That's mostly because if I make a mortise the same height as the entire beam, there will be too little material left underneath it in the gable plank to support it. 2 meters plus an extra 3 millimeters on the other side. 20 millimeters for the tenon. Millimeters. And that's it for the other side. I will make this cut on a miter saw. Now it should be pretty clear why I cut away 20 millimeters in the bottom of the beam. And that's because this distance. If this mortise would have been cut 20 millimeters further down, that's not quite an inch, it's 3/4 of an inch. That would only leave us about 12 millimeters of material underneath to support the beam. Half an inch, give or take. That's not good enough. Therefore I cut away a little bit here, and I have much more wood left to hold the beam. I have started the true lines on both sides of the mortise. That's actually not how you should do it if you want to be really careful, but that's for furniture that you are not supposed to take apart and put back together again all the time. So I did cut the true lines in the beginning, but after that I cut a couple of millimeters inside of those, and that allows me to break against the edge I create. And then when I am to the right depth, I will come back and cut all the way down, so I get the right width of the mortise. If I would cut that line all the way down now and break against that, I would deform the shape of the mortise. Now I only break against wood that I will cut away later anyway. Like so. Well, first you need to cut a little bit like that, and then you come in with a chisel, break it away. And now I don't break against the top edge, I break against the wood I left further down. Now I reached the proper depth, so it's time to cut. Cut to the correct width all the way down. I take away little by little because I left quite a lot of material. And then I can't go directly to the line because the cut might not be so pretty, or the chisel might deviate a little bit from the perpendicular direction. To be honest, it's a little bit overkill being so careful with the width of the mortise, because what really matters here is this line. That is the surface that will support the beam in the end. If it can move a little from side to side, it doesn't matter. But it feels a lot nicer to do a good job rather than just a job that is just sufficient. I'm gonna check with the combination square if the cut is totally plumb. Looks alright on that side. missing a little bit on that side. Yeah, that's good. That's a good fit, not too tight, so it swells and gets stuck out in the tent. It's like a millimeter of margin on all sides. That's what I wanted. This is also a reason I wanted the middle support beam to be a little bit wider, because these bundles of slats are 70 centimeters wide, which is supposed to be used in a 140 centimeter wide bed, but their mattress is 142, and that's the measurement I have built the bed frame for. So I need to be able to fit a little strip on the middle. I will lose about 10 millimeters of support width on the beam here. I have a couple of millimeters of clay with this strip. That it's just perfect, really. That's pretty good, as I see it. I'm very happy with that. The slats fit really nicely with the help of the central strip. There are a few small adjustments left to be done, and after that I will try out the mattress inside of the frame. But that's going to have to wait until tomorrow, because it's very late now and it's time to finish for today. So I'll just finish my last sip of really cold workshop coffee and call it a night.